exists on our planet an entire hidden world that has laid dormant for eons. What they've discovered has been nothing short of revolutionary for science. Two samples were collected in 1992 and 2015. For years, these icy cores were kept in frozen storage, the contents within kept pristine thanks to their icy prison. Recently, scientists discovered a way to at last melt the cores while eliminating any chance of modern contamination. As global warming threatens the world's ice masses, some scientists have warned that sleeping in that same ice, completely isolated from the rest of the world for tens of thousands of years, could lurk deadly killers just waiting to be unleashed. Scientists have labored to drill into some of the oldest and most pristine ice on Earth for years, and in doing so, brought back ice core samples that date back thousands and thousands of years. Two of these samples predate the earliest known human civilization by a whopping 11,000 years. Trapped within the ice lurks a sampling of the microscopic world present at the time the ice was formed. When scientists peered into their microscopes, they found a veritable Ice Age microbial Jurassic Park waiting for them. Investigating the two ice cores, scientists found 33 different groups of viruses with hundreds of individual members of each. A whopping 28 of them were completely unknown to scientists until now. There are more viruses lurking, waiting for their chance to be free of their icy prison. The viruses are in essence nothing more than a piece of genetic material encased in a hard shell that has only a single function: infect healthy cells and use the cell's energy resources to replicate. Is the plausibility of these ancient viruses being a deadly threat to life today? It can be difficult to impossible for a virus to infect a host it hasn't evolved to attack. You really only need one good copy that randomly mutates to affect humans for a virus to become a global pandemic. Then, of course, there's also the fact that scientists fear as the world melts, ancient strands of current diseases could go on a global comeback.
More often than not, sick animals don't infect humans, but when they do, these cross-species infections, or viral host jumps, have the potential to produce deadly epidemics. So how can pathogens from one species infect another? And what makes host jumps so dangerous? Viruses are a type of organic parasite infecting nearly all forms of life. To survive and reproduce, they must move through 3 stages: contact with a susceptible host, infection and replication, and transmission to other individuals. There are a staggering number of viruses circulating in the environment, all with the potential to encounter new hosts. And because viruses rapidly reproduce by the millions, they can quickly develop random mutations. It takes more than time and genetic similarity for a host jump to be successful. Some viruses come equipped to easily infect a new host's cells. The host jump reaches the transmission stage. The virus becomes much more dangerous. Now gestating within 2 hosts, the pathogen has twice the odds of mutating into a more successful virus. And each new host increases the potential for a full-blown epidemic. There's a huge diversity of viruses that we're only just beginning to uncover.
Right this second, you have a 25% chance of carrying deadly Staphylococcus bacteria of staph infection infamy. Luckily for you though, much like your own farts, your staph bacteria are generally harmless to you. And throughout history, mankind has been decimated by all forms of plagues. Europeans very quickly got to work on their favorite historical pastime: subjugating and brutalizing native populations. This time though, they had some extra help in the form of all manner of bacteria and viruses that Native Americans had never encountered before. Smallpox killed about 1 in 3 Europeans who got infected. Native Americans, however, had little to no resistance to the disease, and thus when they made contact with Europeans, the disease very quickly decimated Native American society. Cholera pandemic. Cholera is one of those diseases that just never goes out of style. And to date, there's been 7 told cholera pandemics throughout human history. Started its world comeback tour in India, with the Ganges River being one of the most important in the world as far as human settlements are concerned. It has long been one of the most polluted. In 2011, a report on the water quality of the river revealed that the water contained 1.1 billion fecal bacteria per 100 milliliters. That's about 500,000 times the recommended bathing limit. Add to that the practice of cremating corpses directly on the banks of the river, and India's huge population, of which a large amount believe it's a sacred experience to bathe in the poop-filled river, and it's little surprise that cholera has frequently struck the region. During the 3rd outbreak, though, cholera first struck in India, then spread to Afghanistan and slowly across to Russia, where it killed an estimated 1 million people. From Russia, it made its way to Europe and to Africa, finally landing on the shores of America. Measles or smallpox. Luckily today, we don't have to worry about either of those two devastating diseases thanks to vaccines. Except yes, we do, because anti-vaxxers have refused to vaccinate their children, leading to modern outbreaks of diseases mankind had all but eradicated. Bubonic plague. If cholera is a classic, the bubonic plague is a downright golden oldie. Plague-infected fleas were soon biting all manner of people, acting as the primary vector between the yellow-breasted rat and humans. It would kill 100,000 people in Hong Kong and 60,000 in Canton. Aboard trade ships, the disease made its way to India, where it would go on to kill 10 million. Over the next 30 years, it would kill another 12.5 million. 400 years after the Antonine Plague, rats in a grain shipment from Egypt brought the deadly bubonic plague back to Europe. In 541 AD, half of the population of Constantinople, then the capital of the Western Roman Empire, died to the plague, and from there the disease spread across Europe. After killing between 25 and 100 million across Europe and Asia, the plague once more faded, though it would return sporadically until the last outbreak in 750 AD. HIV/AIDS. Ask anybody who grew up in the 80s what the most feared acronym they ever heard was, and they'd tell you without hesitation, it's AIDS, a disease originating in Africa. It first struck the civilized world in a major fashion in America. Today, 600 people a day contract HIV, and in some parts of Africa, as much as 15% of the population is infected. As of 2017, 39 million people already have died of HIV, out of 76.3 million who have been infected. Our immune system is constantly working to keep you healthy, and our environment is swarming with all manner of harmful bacteria, viruses, and fungi which are looking to turn you into a snack. With Spanish flu. At the end of World War I, Europe was in a sorry state. The war had ravaged the countryside and displaced millions of people. Despite having nothing to do with Spain or the Spanish flu struck soon after the end of the war. The flu virus spread around the world. Yet the flu virus was not a particularly different strain of the same flu you might catch today. The poor sanitary conditions, the concentration of wounded troops in massive field hospitals, and poor nutrition for wartime populations had instead created a world just ripe for the flu to become truly deadly. It was thought to have killed between 50 and 100 million. The Black Death. To date, there has been no epidemic more deadly than the Black Death or the bubonic plague. The plague quickly spread from Asia westward toward Europe, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. All told, the outbreak killed between 75 to 200 million.